Hello and welcome to this bonus episode of The Rest is Entertainment with me, Marina Hyde.
And me, Richard Osman. Now, one of our special episodes now where we go behind the scenes at great British institutions. And this week, producer Joey has gone behind the scenes at Aardman Animation, seen everything that's gone on there. Even spoke to the CEO, Sean Clark, who is not only the CEO of Aardman, but for our niche interests, is also the father of George Clark from Strictly. Hard to think of an institution really that is so beloved, that spreads itself. What's the opposite of spreading yourself thinly? Brands that sort of spread out and kind of gone, here's 15 Aardman things this year. It's like any
they've got better and better, because if you think of like watching The Wrong Trousers or whatever, which is absolutely brilliant, and obviously the nation.
Can I say, by the way, this is not an advert?
No, this isn't an advert.
It's beginning to sound like an advert. It's just, we love Aardman, which is why we wanted to go behind the scenes.
If you think of watching something like The Wrong Trousers, and then the most recent one that they did in the Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul.
Oh my God.
But that was such a joke how good it was. The level of ambition, all generations viewing, and I think they're so amazing. They are so incredible. Yeah, they genuinely are, and it's an amazing British success story. So we really hope you enjoy this sort of a mini documentary. If you want to watch it, by the way, on Spotify, loads and loads of clips as well. So that's a fun way to do it. But I think just listening to it is fun as well. Aardman, enjoy.
Hello Rest is Entertainment listeners, it's producer Joey here. We're back for another behind the scenes episode, and today we're in Bristol at the home of British animation, Aardman. Let's get started. Aardman is undoubtedly one of the most influential stop motion studios in the world. Their beloved characters, including Morph, Shaun the Sheep, and of course Wallace and Gromit, have made them a colossus in our culture. But with AI and shrinking budgets, the world of animation is changing rapidly. But Aardman's output continues to impress audiences and critics alike. And today, we're at Aardman speaking to those that make it happen.
I'm Sarah Cox and I'm Chief Creative Director at Aardman. When Pete Lord met David Sproxton, and they both had a passion for animation, and I think at that time they were working pretty much on a kitchen table. And they got a commission to work for the BBC, and they did Morph, who's our first character. And that grew, and they did other things. They did animated conversations for Channel 4, which was a forerunner of Creature Comforts.
We need a space to live. We need a space to feel that we are part of the world and not a kind of a piece of object in a box.
What I really love about the way Aardman evolved is they believed in talent and the voices that talent have. So when they went and visited the National Film and Television School in London, they met a student there called Nick Park, and they really liked what he did. And so they gave him a chance. So they really supported talent that they saw in a very early stage. So there was something there, whether it was Nick's genius spark or Pete and Dave's incredible acumen in choosing or seeing or spotting that talent that really made the studio what it is today. And so I'm really keen that that's an ethos that we absolutely continue and look for that talent, no matter how raw or unexperienced it is. But sometimes you just see someone with, we call it comedy bones. That's always a good start, or just something.
Hi, I'm Nina Norman. I am the Animation and Rigging Talent Manager at Aardman. The culture is great. Everyone feels like one big family. It's a really nice community feeling. Everyone's working together for one goal, and that is to create this magical project. Every day is so different, and it just feels like a dream experience. And it's one job that I've had in my life that I've never woken up and thought, I don't want to do this anymore.
Who could possibly be behind all this?
My name is Sean Clark, and I'm the Managing Director at Aardman.
What do you think is special about this place?
I think it is the independent spirit, the unique culture. You know, it's a very friendly family type of culture and atmosphere, very open, very collaborative. But I think that's what makes a creative company work, really, is that sense of collaboration, openness. You know, how you take an idea and you nurture it and you take it through to fruition of financing it, making it, marketing it. I think the Wallace and Gromit film, Vengeance Most Foul, that demonstrates I think the talent of the people here, a brand that's now over 30 years old. I think the last film we did before that was in around about 2008, and we came back with a brand new story, brought Feathers McGraw back.
Good grief, it's you!
And broke all records. I think 21.6 million people watched that over a 30-day period, which is unheard of at the moment. With a real, there's a lot of different ways now you can watch television, but we still were able to pull people together over the Christmas period to enjoy that together as a family.
Well, I think the template for what Aardman is was set 50 years ago, so that is very much set up as comedy, but most importantly, character-driven comedy. They established a working formula that we're not going to change now.
We mustn't panic. We mustn't panic.
Tell me about Chicken Run and the impact it had on the wider world of film and TV.
Well, Chicken Run was the highest grossing stop movie feature film ever, and it really marked our breakthrough in America. It's like when the Beatles go to America. For us, it was the Chicken Run moment was that.
My name's Alan Thorpe, and I'm a development exec at Aardman. For a good Aardman story, you're looking for a really simple story structure that gives your central character a sort of clear want and objective. But what you're looking for is sort of big comedy, laugh out loud moments and heart, basically. That's the ingredients. One of the cleverest things that Aardman has ever done is Creature Comforts. It's such a simple idea, and what's so lovely about Creature Comforts is I remember watching it as a kid and just being completely amazed by the fact that members of the public were just chatting and they were being animated as Aardman animals. It sort of blew my mind. And what's amazing about it is how contemporary it is. When you do a new series of Creature Comforts, you're reflecting life now in Britain or wherever you take the show.
No cheese, Gromit.
Wallace is our defining character, really, along with Gromit, but you can't talk about Wallace without talking about Gromit because they're two halves of a whole. Gromit is the underdog who knows what's going on but doesn't have the voice or the power to change events, but manages to do so anyway.
He's the long-suffering pooch, as Nick would say. But I think really it's because it never ceases to amaze me how much expression and emotion you get from purely a movement of a brow.
Sean is full of mischief. Expect the unexpected with Sean, and I think that's what's so great about Sean as a character. If there's a button that says do not press, you know that Sean is going to press that button. But he's also, what's so lovely about Sean is that he sits within a family of sheep and Bitzer and the farmer, and it's a family sitcom. That's what Sean the sheep is.
Oh, if you'd asked me like a couple of years ago, it would have been Morph, but I'm just obsessed with Feathers McGraw. He is my favourite, just silent, cute and evil. I love it.
I do like a villain. And actually, I'd say my favourite Aardman character might be Mrs. Tweedy from Chicken Run. I really like her costume, and she's an incredible villain, voiced by Miranda Richardson, who's an amazing actress.
Well, I remember Pete saying once at a company meeting, it's a bit like a cult when you've joined, because it's not like working anywhere else at all. People collect here because they share the same passion for the craft of what they do, the same ethical values, I think, about, really investing in quality work for our audiences, for families and for children, and not talking down to them and giving them working really hard to craft that humour and the voice of Aardman and make it relatable.
I'm Nio Harding-Hill. I'm Director of Attractions and Live Experiences here at Aardman. So exhibitions, for example, we're working with the V&A launching a really exciting exhibition in February. And that really does give audiences the opportunity to kind of see behind the scenes, understand all the diverse skills that go into creating what we do.
So we've spoken to some of the bosses, but how does it all come together and what goes into making these films? What about the people behind the clay?
My name's Jimmy Young. I'm a creative lead here at Aardman, and that's basically means I'm responsible for teams of puppet makers as we progress through different shoots and feature films and short form projects. At Aardman here, we're really focused on traditional craft and digital technologies as well. And that's really about the perception it's just a tool set that we're trying to use to achieve our final goal. And so we're using a lot of 3D printing technology at the moment, a lot of CG and building stuff within the computer, as well as sort of partnering with sort of the traditional handcraft skills that we require for these projects. So we're using a lot of silicon on these type of projects because we have to consider how long a project is. Normally when we're shooting a feature film, it's 2 to 3 years. And if everything was covered in modeling clay, it's going to take us 3 times longer probably to make that. So that's why that is only really saved for heads and brows and the emotion, because the animation team can really finesse the movement and the emotion within the character, and it lends itself really well, while there'll be more sort of quick movements with arms and legs and body parts. So it makes sense to sort of make those pieces in either sort of silicon or foam latex, or even just sort of clothing as well. And on this armature here, you can see we have a lot of 3D printed coring going on, but we'll design all this within the computer and we'll print out different armature designs. And then we'll pass this on to our armature maker, and that armature maker will actually machine all these different pieces in-house. And then we can sort of place all these different 3D printed parts onto the armature. And this is to make it sort of lightweight and really quite versatile. And then those characters are covered with silicon or modeling clay, but we can sort of pop the heads off. We have to make all these different parts interchangeable as well.
Hi, my name is Mareike Kramer and I'm a stop motion animator at Aardman. A stop motion animator makes the puppets come to life, which is a really fun thing that we get to do. And we do this by moving, as you can see, they're all movable, moving every part of the body by a tiny bit and then taking a picture and doing it over and over again until they move. You roughly aim for 6 seconds in a day. And if it's a feature, it could be anything between 1 second or 3 seconds a day. People always think you have to be a very, very patient person to be a stop motion animator, but I think you have to be more able to concentrate for a very long time. But the hardest bit is really for 8 hours just staring at these puppets, and doing those tiny, tiny, tiny movements, which takes so long, and you just have to be able to focus, especially when you have like 6, 8 characters at the same time. You have to make sure you know exactly what you do in which order, so you don't forget to move the hand from one puppet, because if you do and you keep continuing animating, you realize afterwards you forgot to move something, but you can't go back. This is a mouth set for Wallace, for example, and as you can see, they're very different shapes, and every time the puppet talks, you have to figure out how the mouth would move. So if someone says hello, you know we have a big wide hair, so you need an mouth for it, an L for you could pick one with a tongue in it, and it also tells you for which sounds you need to use the mouth. And then you basically usually you go in beforehand. We have even someone whose job it is to break down the audio and pre-select the mouth we would need. We get it as a reference, and then on set we sometimes decide, do we exactly want to do it like this, or does it work better in a different way while we're moving a puppet? And then it's roughly, depends on how much they talk obviously, but every frame or every other frame you have to swap out the mouths. So that takes quite a while working with clay mouths, but it's really worth it because you can sculpt them while you're animating. So it's not always like set. Because it's clay, you can also make it a bit more exaggerated. And you can really play with it, which is great.
My name is Nathan Ford. I am a lighting technician. Stop motion is very physical and it's all done in real time. So doing practical lighting can really bring together a scene and make it feel like it's a really lived in set. So for example, these in front of you, this came from Chicken Run too, of like these robots, and they wanted to get it all inside the mechanism itself.
One of the current dangers that IP creators, production companies are worried about is kind of generative AI and its ability to mimic, some say steal, likeness of your characters that you've worked on for 50 years plus. First of all, how does Aardman feel about that and what the tech companies have done?
I suppose there's two parts to that. There is the moral and legal arguments about somebody using our IP without permission. And clearly, the nature of how we create long-term value is owning and managing and nurturing IP. So I hope that there is a legal framework to allow us to police and to monetize if we chose to license people to use it. I think then there's the sort of more moral side, I suppose, of how you use generative AI in your filmmaking. I think it's fair to say that all our ideas will always be will come from humans. You know, I take a stance on AI that it always looks back because it has to learn from data, which is fine. But I think creativity should be pioneering and looking forward and pushing boundaries. So it should always assist what we do. I think it's easier to see how AI can help in pre-production, in scoping, design and development direction. You can see how it can help in post-production. I think the nitty-gritty we have to get to terms with is how we use it in film iteration itself and the making of films. But the way to do that is embrace it, look at it, understand it, what works for us. But it's not going to replace humans coming up with their ideas.
The industry has got harder and harder and harder, and so budgets aren't going up but prices are, so that's difficult. There is less opportunity. We're an independent studio, which is really important to us. It means that we can do the kind of films we want and retain our voice. But being independent in the world with big studios or smaller, more nimble studios, we're kind of a mid-size, and that is tricky to maintain in the market at the moment. Day to day, making good work doesn't come easy, and we've set ourselves the most ridiculous high bar ever. So to compete with ourselves, we're always trying to make things better, and there's always a balance between making the best film you possibly can and making the film that delivers on time and on budget. So it's almost like you're racing along in a car that's going to go off a cliff, and you have to judge the time that you can jump off with the best film in your hands that you can. So that's the ongoing challenge at every single project. We're always trying to make it amazing. Working at Aardman is unique. It doesn't feel like a job. It feels beyond even a career. I think it is. It's a shared commitment to making quality films, but I don't. You do get it elsewhere, but not to the scale that is Aardman. And I think there's an opportunity to work with really the best talent in the whole world, and that for me is what makes me get up every morning and come in, even when things are tough, and sometimes they are, but it's always worth it because I'm working with the best people.
Thank you so much, Joey, and thank you to everybody at Aardman for putting that together for us.
Absolutely fascinating.
Oh my God, it's so great. I love those things so much.
Pure art.
Pure art. The name of my new production company. Thank you so much, members. We will see all of you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.